Hey, it is your girl Sarah right here on Relax Radio. Now you're tuned into the final hour of the sunrise because as I told you I will be keeping you company all the way from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. And well, it is the final hour of my show. Now I'm super excited to be here. Also because it's a Friday and that means the rest of the week or basically it's a weekend. So obviously that is something to be excited about, something to be joyful about because hey, even though we're stuck at home, we all enjoy the weekend, right? Because the weekend means that we don't have to work. We can finally take some of that rest, especially if you are someone with kids, if you're someone who has to take care of children who are very small, if you're a parent, sometimes life can be very stressful. So it's the weekend, right? Something to be excited about. Now that is something that I'm excited for as well. And sometimes you don't have to have a reason. You can just be excited for the weekend. Right now, like I said, I told you I'll be back here to talk to you about the EU and the UK and how both these, how the EU and the United Kingdom are right now, especially after, Brexit got finalized this year. So now we'll be talking about a lot of things, especially with regard to the EU and the United Kingdom, how they've moved on, what they're doing right now. So make sure you stay tuned in for that conversation. But before we get into that conversation, just a quick reminder that you can follow us on our socials, which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok to find out the latest, to find out, what we're going to be talking about, to find out everything that you need to know, because obviously we love to keep our audience informed and we also love to make sure that you know about everything that's going on in the world, because that's what we do here, right here on Relax Radio. We want to keep you informed about, the latest news, current affairs, international news, local news, entertainment, sports, technology, health, science, everything you name, everything under the sun is right here on Relax Radio, because we all talk about a wide variety of things. We'll all talk about different things, and we always have very interesting conversation. So make sure you stay tuned because you're going to find out a lot of things. Okay, but you can also text me on 07852473473, because as much as we love giving you information, as much as we love keeping you informed, we also really love hearing your opinion. We love hearing your thoughts. We love hearing what you have to say about everything that is happening. So make sure you text me on that number, which is 07852473473, the number that is on the banner right now. Make sure you text us on that number and make sure you stay tuned because we have a lot of interesting conversation heading your way. Okay, now let's get into what we're talking about right now, which is basically about Brexit and the United Kingdom and the European Union. Okay, now it's been 5 years since the United Kingdom actually left the EU, and we will obviously be looking into how things have changed in both the United Kingdom and the European Union. Now, just to recap a little bit of what happened on the 23rd of June 2016, there was this huge political thunderbolt, obviously, that no one saw coming, and was the fact that the United Kingdom actually voted to leave the European Union. But right now it's 5 years into it's 5 years ever since this happened, and the tempest of Brexit has actually subsided, and we just finalized it this year. So obviously there have been new regulations, there have been new trade terms and whatnot that have been agreed upon and ratified. So we'll be talking about all of that, right? Now, I also have some, thoughts and opinions that were shared by some of the people in both the European Union and also, in the United Kingdom as well, which I'll be sharing with you today. Now, George Rickles of the European Policy think tank said that not only did the European Union did survive the storm, but it also moved on from the storm, and that's what we have to say about the United Kingdom as well, because obviously we left, there were so many things at risk. There were so many changes that we had to make, but hey, we've got past that. The future definitely looks a bit more brighter. There's so many different things that we need to work on as well, but that's okay because we've left the European Union. We're finally, going on our own path. We're taking matters into our own hands to achieve that to achieve the development, to achieve that advancement that we needed. Right now, I want to quickly recap as to why the United Kingdom actually voted to leave the European Union. Now, something that is very common, and this is not just the European Union, this is any organization, any international organization. And I'm talking about the United Nations, I'm talking about, NATO, any organization. Membership is very, very important, because you will only be a member of a certain organization if you think that they're delivering, if you think that there is some benefit for you, right? Now, obviously, a huge problem that the United Kingdom had with the membership of the European Union was we felt like the European Union wasn't necessarily delivering on any of the things that we wanted. And data has actually shown that there has been various, or enormous variations in attitudes towards the European Union over the last decade. And the big picture is that people support membership if they feel like it's delivering what they want. And these are things like a prosperous economy, it's things like protection against crime and terrorism, control over immigration, and efficient public services. But we've known that the United Kingdom has been skeptic about the EU and everything that has been happening in the European Union as well. Something that's referred to as Euroscepticism is something that people in the United Kingdom, our leaders, have also been seeing and facing as well. So obviously, when it came to being delivered these things that we needed, like a prosperous economy, protection against crime and terrorism, and control of immigration, and efficient public services, obviously it's safe to say that we didn't really have any of those. Not that we didn't have, but we didn't really feel any of it, because most of the time we just had to help a lot of these burden countries, especially with the euro. Now, this is also why we rather weren't a part of the Schengen Agreement, simply because this meant that we'd have to make it completely okay for all these people to just, come to our country. But the thing is, if you actually analyze this, the reason why we weren't a part of the Schengen Agreement was because, look, if every time people have economic recessions, depressions in their countries, then all the time people are just going to start moving into our country, right? And that means a lot of things like the population, a lot of the rights that they have and everything, these were completely changed. And that is a lot of work, that is a lot of change that needs to be made. And especially when you're a country like ours, when it's big, when there are so many other issues that we have to handle, things like this migration, and immigrants is something that's very, very hard to deal with, especially when you're dealing with so many problems, right? And another reason why the United Kingdom actually left the European Union was obviously the recession of 2008. Now, we all know that the recession was very bad for America, and then it affected Europe as well. But obviously, while America was growing, the euro was actually going into recession, and it definitely grew at a much slower rate than the dollar. And obviously, there was a lot of impact on it, a lot of impact of that on Britain, right? And because Britain's failure to actually effectively recover from this recession, it actually colored the whole backdrop rather of the referendum, and it felt a lot of people, or rather it left a lot of people feeling very discontented and unrepresented. So we know that the eurozone was obviously suffering from dismal economic performance, and workers from less affluent countries, or less affluent states rather, like Poland and Portugal, actually moved to the UK. And what happened when this happened was the fact that this large scale migration of low wage workers actually depressed the wages for the native born Britons. So obviously, when you have a large influx of people from countries who have low wages, countries who are currently going, not currently, but countries who are going through economic recession, and like I said, they all came to the United Kingdom. And what that did for the people of the United Kingdom was it essentially reduced their wages. Look, if you're from a poor income family, if you're from poor income household, and you already have low wages, and these people come because of all the issues that they face, and that means your low wage already reduces so much more, then it's definitely going to affect affect you, right? It's definitely not going to be the best thing that's going to happen, and you definitely don't want something like that either. So that is one of the reasons as to why why the United Kingdom actually left the European Union. Now, another reason was austerity, because in managing their economy, the European Union actually opted for austerity, and this resulted in significant problems for countries like Greece and Italy, because austerity did not work for them, and that also meant that there was a delayed economic recovery both in Europe and Britain, and this sort of stimulated what I said earlier, which is Euroscepticism, right? When you're trying to manage an economy through austerity, when you're trying to sort of have this whole idea of how it should be, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to work for all these countries, and our country, the Kingdom, was actually very much affected by it. And it's like the more we stayed in the European Union, the more loss and more harm that it had for us, right? So obviously that's why it's very, very important, or that's why I felt like I needed to go back and sort of quickly run through or recap as to why the United Kingdom actually left the European Union. Now, stay tuned, because I'll be back in a few minutes to actually talk about this topic, about how the European Union has moved on. But until then, I'm actually going to head into a small break. But before I do that, I also want to quickly remind you that you can get in touch with me on 078-52473473, the number that is showing on the bottom right now. Make sure you text me, make sure you call me, because I would love to hear your opinion. But obviously, right now, we'll get into that break.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh, so that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, got me thinking. You want to stand out. Why do you want to stand out though so much, especially with these kind of shirts when you're riding? There must be a purpose behind it, right?
Well, when you say a purpose, Nick, what I do, I wear the shirts, mainly one, because they're nice and bright, so they make me visible, especially if I'm riding on the road.
Okay. Yeah, that's very important, right? Because you want cars, yeah.
Very important. And also, like, people see me in like calves, and perhaps I shouldn't be saying this on here, I suppose, but in the bar afterwards.
All right.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh, so that's why I do it.
And it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, you look like a guy who would do.
You know me too well. You know me too well, Nick.
Welcome back to the show. Very, very good morning. If you're just tuning in, you're with your girl Sarah right here on the Sunrise, and you're tuned into Relaks Radio as well. Now, we're just talking about how both the European Union and the United Kingdom have moved on from Brexit, how things have changed for a lot of us, how things have how these new regulations, new policies have changed. So it's very, very important that we talk about them as well. So, before I actually head into it, before I actually get into what we're going to be talking about, just a quick reminder that you can follow us on our socials, which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, because we have some amazing content for you there. So make sure you check that out, okay? Now, while you're at it, also make sure you download our app, which is available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store as well. You can download it on your iOS device, you can download it on your Android device, and it will definitely help you stay updated. It'll definitely help you be a part of this conversation as soon as you want, right? All you just need to do is just click on the app, and you can be a part of this conversation. So make sure you do that, because I would absolutely love it if you're a part of this conversation. And obviously, Another thing you can do actually is just to text me on 078 if you have any thoughts, if you have any opinions that you would like to share with us, so I can share them with everyone who's listening in as well. So make sure you do that, because I would absolutely love to for you to be a part of this show as well. Now let's talk about how the European Union has actually moved on. Now it's very important that we still address the fact, or accept the fact, that the European Union is still hobbled by a lot of deep splits, right? Whether it's over helping refugees or fixing flaws in the currency union, many officials agree, and they accept the fact that there are still a lot of splits within the European Union. But the biggest threat that they see right now is actually coming from Hungary and Poland, where powerful ruling parties are actually weakening independent courts and media. And this is widely seen as an internal exit from the rule of law of at the heart of Europe. Now, obviously, it's the EU has always been about upholding law. It's been about, economic benefit. It's been about, integrity and different things like that, right? So obviously, if there are these countries within the European Union, like Hungary and Poland, that are sort of undermining or weakening independent courts and media, then that is something that is very problematic as well right now. Now, Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban actually provoked fresh outrage this week, because because he actually proposed allowing national parliaments to suspend the EU legislative process, and called for the term ever closer nation to be deleted from the Union Treaty. And obviously, this is it's a threat to independence in codes and in media, and also ensuring that all the countries in the European Union have, similar processes and everything when it comes to this as well, right? So these are very, very important, because even though we're still trying to move on, even though they're still trying to move on and they're trying to get past it, there is still obviously a lot of issues. There are still a lot of disagreements, splits that need to be, fixed, need to be mended before they can fully progress as a union, right? But they also said that Brexit had also helped the European Union to rediscover its purpose, and this was actually said by Rickles, who is a part of the think tank, and he said that the United Kingdom leaving the European Union has actually helped them rediscover what they should do now. For example, smaller EU member states were actually very, very impressed by how the EU has stood behind Ireland in the disputes, in the disputes with the United Kingdom over the Irish border, right? And because of those disputes, it has actually raised a lot of concerns about the peace process, and that is something that has caused a lot of concern. And because of that, these smaller EU member states were actually very impressed, and also very glad about the fact that the European Union was standing behind Ireland when it came to these Irish voters, right? Now, another thing that it has actually shown is that when one country has an existential issue, it means that every other member state in the European Union considers it an existential issue for them as well. And look, let's actually try to figure out why they think of this in this perspective. And actually, it's because it's because of the simple fact that this is the European Union. They use the same currency. They're very interdependent. So obviously, when something affects one country, it affects the rest of the countries in the European Union as well. And we saw that when Greece had their economic crisis. Obviously, we saw how when they were struggling, it actually affected the entire European Union. So it just makes a lot of sense when they say that an existential threat to one country in the European Union is also an existential threat to all of those countries, right? So obviously that is something that we understand. Now, this whole Brexit process had actually forced all those 27 other member states to pay more attention to each other, to sort of, be concerned about each other's problems, to try and find ways to solve each other's problems. Because at the end of the day, whatever happens within one country, it eventually affects all the other countries as well. And they also agree to the fact that it definitely created a more common culture of what it means to have a single market, and to have a level playing field. So and they're saying that, the fact that they have a level playing field, the fact that there is a more common culture of a single market, it'll actually help them when it comes to playing a role in the future of relations with the rest of the world. Okay, so obviously, when we're talking about relations with the rest of the world, it's very, very important for them, it's very important for them that they have a much more level, much more better single market and playing field as well. Now, a lot of the people who are actually, or rather, a lot of the countries that are there in the European Union actually moaned for the British departure, but they also said that Brexit actually made it easier for them to make progress on long stalled policies. Because there was a lot of issues when it came to certain policies that the European Union wanted to pass, and obviously the United Kingdom didn't really want them to pass. So because of that, because there was a lot of issues with that, it meant that when Britain finally did leave the European Union, that all these other um all these other policies that were on the drawing board, to put it simply, that were just there, actually just it just helped them to pass all these laws. Because the only reason they couldn't pass these laws was simply because of all the red lights and the stalling that they had from the Europe, or rather from the United Kingdom, right? So soon after the Brexit vote, soon after the Brexit vote, the European Union actually did activated the common defense plans that had lain on that drawing board for years. So as soon as we left the EU, they actually could go ahead with some of these policies that they couldn't pass because of how the European Union actually existed. Now, I have a little comment here, and they're saying hello all the way from South Africa. Now, I'm super excited you're tuned into the show. Super excited that you can be a part of the show all the way from South Africa, and that honestly means a lot. So I'm very, very glad that you could be a part of this show. So make sure to text me just like that, because it's definitely going to make this conversation more interactive. Make sure you text me on 07852473473, and you can get in touch with me and you can be a part of this conversation as well. And like I said, it's going to get so much better when I have so many of you out there interacting with me, telling me your thoughts and your opinions. So make sure you text me on that number. I'll just repeat it, just to remind you again, 07852473473. Very, very happy that we have listeners all the way from South Africa as well. Okay, but I was just talking about how the EU has moved on after Brexit, and we'll get into it, right? Now, Natalie Lewis actually said that she said that she thought that the British would have been putting or she said that in her perspective, that when the United Kingdom was a part of the European Union, that they had obviously been putting brakes on these plans. But the thing is, she also said that she missed the United Kingdom, especially when it came to how the United Kingdom with these things, the different kind of perspectives they have. Because she said that we missed the world vision which the UK obviously had. So that's how the European Union has moved on, especially after this is how the European Union has moved on, especially after after the United Kingdom left the European Union. But also at the same time, we need to understand that it's not necessarily a bad thing. It has in fact benefited both sides. It has in fact benefited the European Union when it came to passing certain policies that they couldn't pass, especially when the United Kingdom was still a part of the European Union. And even when it came to the single market, when it came to creating a level playing field, when it came to creating this common culture of a very level playing field. Obviously, they had a lot of issues because of the United Kingdom, and it's good that they've been able to move past that. They've been able to finally pass all these policies that they haven't been able to pass, and it also means that it's very good for the United Kingdom as well, because they've also moved on. They've also, been able to do their own thing, to have their own policies, to pass their own policies. And honestly, I think it is, after all, for the best of both the United Kingdom and the European Union that this has happened. So it's good that we're finally, it's good that Brexit finally, it got finalized, and now everyone seems to be happy, and they seem to be able to make their own decisions, which is definitely much less stressful than it was, because of, obviously, there was a lot of tension when it came to leaving the European Union as well. So that means we're able to move past it. Everything seems to be working out for both the EU and the United Kingdom, and I think it is working out all for the best. But stay tuned, because I'll be back in a few in a few more minutes, to talk to you after this break about how the UK has moved on post Brexit. Okay, so make sure you stay tuned, because I'll be back sooner. As soon as this is done, I'll be back.
Now, there's a lot of conversation around who pays more taxes, if it is the rich or if it is the poor, right? When you are basically going out and during a day, you go to a restaurant, you have to pay taxes there. If you buy a car, you have to pay taxes there. So why is it even a conversation that the rich pay less taxes, or the poor pay more taxes? Why is it a conversation like that?
Because it's true, the rich generally pay less tax. A rich person walks into a Tesco's or a Sainsbury's, they're not going to get a different bill than another person, right? They're still going to pay the same VAT on those goods, they're still going to pay the same thing. So that's all the same. However, the differences come in if you can pay yourself from your own company, you can structure it in a way that you pay less income tax through paying a bit of salary, paying dividends and so forth, and then also deferring income. Also, your pension payments or contributions can be different. So that increases your tax sort of gap, if you want to use it that way. Where a PAYE person just gets paid salary and bonus. And now those are the most highly taxed sources of income in the UK, definitely, in the UK. We've seen it, right? If an owner of a large public traded company does something wrong, irrelevant of what that company does or how valuable that company is, the stock generally falls into a pool of nothing, right? Because in a public company where the stock is traded openly on the stock exchange, the value of that stock is driven by supply and demand, it's driven by emotion, it's driven by news, it's driven by quite a lot of variables over and above the actual accounting or total net worth of that company. I mean, we've seen it, right? If an owner of a large public traded company does something wrong, irrelevant of what that company does or how valuable that company is, the stock generally falls into a pool of nothing, right? And the company may still have value, it may still be doing quite a good thing.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh. So that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, got me thinking. You want to stand out. Why do you want to stand out though so much, especially with these kind of shirts when you're riding? There must be a purpose behind it, right?
Well, when you say a purpose, Nick, what I do, I wear the shirts. Mainly, one, because they're nice and bright, so they make me visible, especially if I'm riding on the road.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that's very important, right? Because you want cars, yeah.
Very important. And also, like, people see me in, like, calves and perhaps a shouldn't be saying this on air, I suppose, but in the bar afterwards.
All right.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh. So that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, you look like a guy who would do.
You know me too well. You know me too well, Nick.
Hello, welcome back to the show. It is your girl Sarah right here on the Sunrise, and it's almost the final few minutes of my show. But we were talking about the European Union, we were talking about the United Kingdom, and we were talking about Brexit, right? Because, like I said, it just got finalized this year. We're still adjusting to those changes. Both the United Kingdom and the European Union actually are still adjusting to these changes, and there are new policies, there's a new regulations that everyone is trying to adhere to as well. So that's what we're talking about. Now, you're tuned in to Relax Radio with me, Sarah, and we have a lot of interesting conversation happening here, be it science, be it sports, whatever it is. We have a lot of interesting conversation, okay? So make sure you stay tuned because we love to keep you informed. We love to keep you updated because right here at Relax, we have all positives and no negatives, okay? So make sure you stay tuned and also make sure you get in touch with me. You can text me on 078 on these final few minutes of my show because it would mean so much. I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to hear your I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to hear your messages, your opinions, your questions, whatever it is. I would love to hear it. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you text me as well. And while you're at it, make sure you go follow us on our socials as well because you know why when you follow us on our socials you're going to be able to be the first person to know what is happening right here on Relax Radio. So go follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok because that way you can always make sure you're the first person to know about everything that is going to be happening right here on Relax Radio. But let's actually get into our conversation right now. Let's get into how the United Kingdom has moved on from how the United Kingdom has moved on from the European Union, how post Brexit has made the United Kingdom change a lot of policies. We'll talk all about it right now. So when we actually left the European Union, we were released from the European Union trading and free movement rules. And because of that, the United Kingdom has actually been introducing its own policies on trade and immigration. And as the European can now do regarding British nationals. Now, this works both ways. While the United Kingdom can change all these trading and free movement rules, it works the same for the European Union as well. So these two, the European Union and the United Kingdom can actually have different sets of rules, different things that people need to adhere to, especially if they are going to countries in the European Union or they're going to UK. Now, other changes that have affected people are travel and business, right? Because the EU nationals already living in the UK and the British nationals who are living on the continent have the right to remain. But for some, the future is still uncertain. Now, I'm not sure if you remember, but some time back we were talking about, the 28-day notice that is now being given, or the 28-day notice that is now being given to all British citizens, or rather to all European Union citizens who are residing in the United Kingdom, where basically if they haven't applied for settled status here in the United Kingdom, that they need to do it. And the deadline for that is actually the 30th of June. So if you're listening in and you haven't applied for the settled status, that is, make sure you do that because it could result in a lot of complications, and it's always best to avoid complications. So things like that, things like applying to remain in the United Kingdom, so things like that have changed a lot, right? Now, let's also talk about the last minute deal on the post Brexit trade that was actually struck on Christmas Eve of last year. And let's talk about it because it has been formally ratified. And what it basically does is it allows for this tariff free, quota free access to each other's markets for goods, but not for services. Now, this is this, tariff free, quota free access is only there, it's only relevant, it's only valid and relevant for the goods that are being exchanged between the two countries, and not really the services, right? But it also covers future competition, fishing rights, and cooperation on matters such as security, because that is something important, right? When it comes to security, it's not really just the United Kingdom, because all these other countries are connected. All these countries are connected as well. So obviously, in terms of security, in terms of competition, they need to in fact come into certain regulations, they need to come into certain agreements to make sure that it works out for the best for both sides of this agreement, right? And as of January 1st, 2021, the UK was no longer a part of the European Union's single market and customs union, and it was actually free to sort of implement their own trade deals that were struck, their own trade deals that they could also, strike with third world countries and any other countries as well. And what this means is also that it brings a lot of new customs formalities and regulatory controls between the European Union and the United Kingdom. But there will still be these cross-border police investigations and law enforcement, because the UK will actually remain in some of the EU security exchange programs, but it'll actually no longer be a part of the European arrest warrant or the Europol. So that is something that needs to be kept in mind in terms of especially how the United Kingdom is working is moving on. We understand that there are certain instances when everyone is actually talking, or not talking really, but certain instances when both parties have had to agree and come to a certain agreement to ensure that there is protection for both parties as well. Now, the United Kingdom will actually also stay in the European Convention on Human Rights, and they'll also continue with scientific cooperation, because the United Kingdom is still a paying member of the European Union's Horizon Europe program for 7 years. So they'll be in that program for 7 more years. And at that point, I'm not too sure if they will continue to stay in it or whether they'll leave. But at the moment, right now, they will still be there for scientific cooperation, right? And it will also remain in Copernicus and Euroatom. And those things are very important, because again, like I said, things like security, things like space exploration, these are things that when it comes to the UK, when it comes to some countries in the European Union, they're all connected. Like, some of these things are connected, right? So it's very, very important that they actually stay in some of these, they still keep some of the conventions they signed back then, because it's beneficial for them as well. So that's what is happening, and that is that for this conversation on the European Union and the United Kingdom after Brexit. Now, super excited to be here, and I'm also super excited about the fact that tomorrow is the weekend, which means we all get to finally rest for 2 days. But I'll be back here again on Monday, so don't worry, don't stress out. We have a lot of other amazing shows that will be coming up, that will be happening throughout the weekend as well. So make sure you stay tuned for those as well. But right now, I'm actually going to head out of here and make way for Jamie, who will be here to keep you company on the chat wrap. And she'll be talking with you about so many interesting things. And before I leave, just a quick reminder to follow us on all our social media platforms, which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. But also make sure you download our app on any of your iOS or Android devices, because you can actually access it on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. So make sure you do that. But it's time for me to head out of here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and stay tuned, because Jamie will be here next.